text, Guiding Bodhisattva Way of Life, and starting with chapter 1, and where he explained about the preciousness of such bodhicitta mind and all the benefit of aspiring bodhicitta as well as engaging bodhicitta. So through that understanding of the preciousness and the benefit of the bodhicitta mind, so that we can be much more inspired and to practice, through the practice to be able to cultivate such a powerful and precious mind of the bodhicitta mind, the awakening bodhicitta. If we can cultivate the bodhicitta mind, it will make such a difference in our life. Such a difference in our life, it makes such a difference in the life of people around us, as we discussed a little bit yesterday. When we are lazy, if we practice bodhicitta, that will give you energy, and inspirations. No time to be lazy when you have that bodhicitta mind, No time to be lazy when you have bodhicitta mind. It is like, when the parent have so much love for their child, especially when they are very young, and when they are very much dependent on the parent, and because of the parents' incredible love and compassion, when the child needs help, or they are in some kind of pain, there is no time for the parent to be lazy and not to attend. Do you get it? The parent, there is no time for the parent to be lazy and not have the energy and to take care of the whatever problem or pain the child is having, because of that incredible affection, concern, compassion that you have for your child. That, no matter how tired you are, you still will have the energy to take care of the child's needs. Same way when you have bodhicitta mind, and when we see the pain and suffering of other sentient beings, there's no time to be lazy. So the bodhicitta mind, the practice of bodhicitta mind, meditation on bodhicitta mind is the antidote to overcome the laziness. It helps us to, when our mind is feeling very lonely and down, you practice bodhicitta mind, and there is no time to be, there is, no mind low. The bodhicitta mind give you incredible strength, inner strength. The bodhicitta mind give you incredible inner strength, and there's no time. So when you have that kind of incredible inner strength, there's no way to be so, your mind feels so down, discouraged, down. So the Bodhisattva mind uplifts your mind. Uplifts your mind because of incredible strength that it gives you, the Bodhisattva mind. Also, when we practice the Bodhisattva mind and when we are able to feel our love, compassion, sense of concern, care for others, you will also feel their love, their compassion, their sense of care yourself. And then, when you feel is from the distant. But when you don't feel sense of love, care, compassion, affection from others, then that's when we start to feel lonely. Even you are surrounded by so many people. Even though you might be surrounded by 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, all around you, but if you don't feel their love, if you don't feel their sense of compassion, care, affections, then still you will feel lonely. On the other hand, you might be by yourself in a cave, no one there, but you can feel other sentient beings' love, compassions, affections, and because of that, you will never feel lonely. And when we have compassion for others, love for others, when we have the Bodhisattva mind towards others, also we feel, just as we feel connected and close to others. So because of your love, compassion, Bodhisattva, you will feel very connected, very close with others. And when you feel that closeness, dearness, affectionate, then you will not feel so lonely. So if you feel lonely, practice the Bodhisattva mind. If we are feeling sense of superiority, self-important, pride, and arrogant, practice Bodhisattva mind. It will help you be grounded. Sometimes we are not grounded. Sometimes we feel we are more superior than someone else. Sometimes we feel there is sense of self-importance, superiority. On the basis of that, then we tend to kind of look down on others, put down others. And that kind of attitude, that kind of behavior, actions is so the key is the Bodhisattva, of course. Those negative emotions, attitudes. Once you are able to practice the Bodhisattva, then you wouldn't have the anger, hateful feelings. You have the Bodhisattva, you will be less frustrated, less impatience. Discriminating, practice the Bodhisattva mind, there is no space for discriminating attitude and behavior. practice bodhicitta mind, there's no space for the sense of bias and discriminating attitude in the mind. The key is the key for our happiness. And of course, no doubt the bodhicitta mind is the cause of today. They run towards we all cherish our life. And we all sentient beings and all sentient beings cherish themselves. That being the case, the sentient beings, they will take care of themselves. Why should I get involved with that? And suffering and the wish to lead them to happiness and cause of happiness, because they will do themselves. They will take care of themselves. So such thought can arise, such thought can arise, oh, that person's, he will be able to take care of his problems. Why should why should I get involved with that? Because he or she doesn't want suffering, he or she want happiness, and they cherish their life, and they will. So then sometimes such thought can arise, and that can be an obstacle for us to have bodhicitta mind. When such thought arises, then it creates obstacles to cultivate the bodhicitta attitude. So to counter such a mistaken mind thoughts. So then here I was saying, yes, it is true. No sentient beings want suffering. It's true. All sentient beings wish happiness. And it is also true. Sentient beings cherish themselves. And they try to take care of themselves. It's true. But even though they do not wish suffering, and therefore they don't try to eliminate the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering, but due to strong delusions and imprint from the past, they are unable to overcome the cause of suffering. Not only they are unable to overcome the cause of suffering, but they're actually engaged into the cause of suffering. Due to either ignorance or due to strong imprint and delusions from the past. Not only others, even we do that, isn't it? We do not want suffering, but we continue to create the cause of suffering. So even you do not wish suffering, but because you continue to create cause of suffering, you will continue to suffer. At least, in our cases, at least we know to a certain degree what are the cause of suffering. Still, even we know it, maybe even though we are not ignorant about it, still because of past imprint and strong delusion, still we continue to engage in so much cause of suffering every day. So imagine those sentient beings who does not have access to the Dharma, and therefore they don't know what is the real cause of their sufferings. So it's even more challenging for them because they don't really know what is the main cause of the suffering itself. Also, even though they wish happiness, but then they don't know the real cause of happiness. Therefore, they don't, due to the ignorance, they don't really know what is the real cause of happiness. And therefore, they don't engage in the cause that bring the happiness. And even some of them, even they know what is the real cause of happiness, but due to, again, strong delusions and past imprint, they do not engage in the cause that bring happiness. And again, we are one of those examples. Maybe we may not be as ignorant in sense of knowing what is the cause of real happiness. We know our own mind, we know our own virtues is the cause of our happiness, but still it is hard to create such virtuous mind, such virtuous thought. Since we don't create the cause of such happiness, so therefore then we are unable to have the happiness. So therefore, for most of the sentient beings, they don't even know what is the main cause of happiness. And so therefore so even though they wish happiness, do not wish suffering, but due to ignorance and not knowing, they continue to destroy the cause of happiness and continue to engage in the cause of suffering. And because of that, they continue to lack the happiness. And child is like a very young child who want to be happy and who doesn't want suffering, but because they still don't know much about things, so they might harm themselves. So therefore the parent has to watch, look, take care that they don't harm themselves. The parent has to be very watchful, mindful, so that they don't hurt themselves. Same way is like same, just like child and the parent watching the child so they don't get hurt. Same way, then we also train like that, watching the child, the sentient beings, like the parent watching the child, because they might hurt themselves, even though they don't want to hurt themselves, but they can hurt themselves either due to ignorance or either due to too strong delusions and imprint. And so therefore, that is why we need to develop that the Bodhisattva attitude. That is why we need to do. So that is the meaning of that. That's So for those who are derived of happiness, so all the sentient beings who want happiness, but they are derived of happiness, and burdened with many sorrows, even though they do not wish any sufferings, but they are burdened with many sorrows and sufferings because of due to the cause of the sufferings, you know. Mm. It dissatisfied them with all joy and despair all sufferings. So it here referring to the bodhicitta mind. The bodhicitta mind, you know, satisfied all sentient beings who are derived of happiness. It will satisfy them who are derived of happiness. The bodhicitta mind will satisfy them with all the joys. And all the sentient beings who are burdened with the sorrow and suffering, their suffering will be dispelled. The bodhicitta will dispel all those suffering, all this sorrow. So through the bodhicitta mind, you know, um, we become more and more enlightened, more and more wise, more and more compassionate, kind, caring. And when we have all these qualities, more compassionate, more wisdom and more wise, more skillful means, more enlightened, more and more we are able to help sentient beings to um, overcome their pain and sufferings and cause of suffering. More and more we will be able to help them to achieve and satisfy with happiness and cause of happiness, you know. And all this come starting from the bodhicitta mind. At this moment, we will be able to, when we have bodhicitta, definitely we will be able to help many sentient beings. And as we progress on the path, as we develop more, become more enlightened, less delusions, less obscurations, more realizations, then we will be able to help even more sentient beings and more on the path as we progress on the different stages of the path on the bodhisattvas. And eventually, when we are able to achieve fully enlightenment, then we will be able to help sentient beings day and night to help them to, overcome the suffering from bodhicitta. You know, all the benefit we are getting now from the Buddha's kindness and Buddha's teachings is because of Buddha's bodhicitta mind. You know, all the benefit that we get from our practice is because of all these teachings, all this wisdom. And all this teaching and wisdom, because of Buddha, how to